Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light.
Powered by Emery Allen. Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light. Let's go, guys. I'm Ryan Lee, your host of Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but yeah, we're still trending. It's the #1 landscape lighting show in Charleston, South Carolina. I think it's like a couple weeks in a row. So that's kind of a big deal. If you're looking to start or grow a landscape lighting business, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we got an awesome show. We're going to be talking about this journey of growth and profit versus revenue. What's more important? Obviously, we want profit, but no one really brags about their profit. They're always just bragging about their revenue. So we're going to get into that. The journey of building a lighting business is going to be awesome. We got Mr. Paul Mulkey Jr. of Landscape Lighting of Charleston. And this is going to be an awesome conversation. I met Paul maybe a little over a year ago, and I'm gonna wait for him to join. But I want to share the story, which I was just blown away at something I learned from him, like literally like the first day we talked. So that was kind of cool. But we're gonna have Paul on in just a few minutes. And before we do, a couple of quick reminders. It's next month, so we got Secrets Summit coming up. And you have to be a member of Landscape Lighting Secrets or a member of Lighting Academy. So we're extending a wider invitation. If you've been to a Landscape Lighting Live, or if you are in Lighting Academy, or you're in Landscape Lighting Secrets, you need to be there. If you have any questions, you can email me at support@ryanleecoaching.com. But if you want to get your ticket, it's secretsummit.com. If you're in Landscape Lighting Secrets, check your email before you get your ticket, because we sent out some promo codes for you. So you don't have to pay full price. It's secretsummit.com, and it's September 25th through 27th. Guys, this is going to be insane because number one, it's in West Palm Beach, Florida. That place does not suck. Okay. So it's an amazing place. Greg Matthews owns Luxury Illumination. He's one of our top clients, and he also is having a 10-year anniversary party. Now, it's going to be combined with Secret Summit. So it's going to be an epic 3 days, 2 days of mastermind, really building your business, networking with other pros, and then 1 day of partying for the Luxury Illumination 10-year anniversary party. It's going to be epic. It's going to be amazing. And I want to see you guys down there. So if you have any questions, like I said, reach out. But if you're ready to go to secretsummit.com, get your ticket. And also, I want to thank everyone that's given me those 5-star reviews. I've been begging, and I'm probably not going to stop. So if you haven't gone to Apple and give me that 5-star review, you can go to Spotify. But Apple's cool because you can click 5 stars on Lighting for Profits podcast, and then you can actually write something. It says write a review. If you've gotten value from one of our amazing guests, then please go give us that 5-star review. And again, guys, in just a few minutes, we got Paul Mulkey Jr., the owner of Landscape Lighting of Charleston, and really, really looking forward to this conversation. And if you are looking to scale, you're looking to grow your lighting business, you got a lot to learn on today's show. But before we have him on, I do want to talk about something that actually just came up this week inside the Landscape Lighting Secrets members only Facebook group. First of all, you're not selling fixtures. Okay. A lot of us, people are like, well, how much you charge per light? You're not even selling designs. I mean, a lot of people are really proud of like the designer they become. What you're actually doing in this crazy lighting world that we get to play around with is you're providing an experience. And at least if you're charging what you should be charging and building a real business, you're providing an experience. And if you want to charge a premium price, you better provide a premium experience. And there's a lot of pieces to the equation. The equation is the experience, right? I mean, starting with branding. So when even if someone's referred to you, if they don't find you online, someone's like, oh, let me check out this company. Like, what does your branding look like? What does it say? How does it communicate value to the client? What does your online presence look like? Your website, your social media, how you answer the phone. Okay. It's really all about this whole experience. But I remember back when I was running my lighting business, there was a time when we started to grow, right? And at first there's different phases, right? But we started to actually get some traction, started to get some sales in, start getting booked out a little bit. It felt really good. And there was a week I had a tight schedule. I had everything booked Monday through Friday. Everything's just going to be just great. Well, the problem is Monday, the install took an extra day because the ground was like solid rock. I had no idea it was going to be so hard for the guys to trench. I mean, they were getting out like grinders and saws and all this stuff to try to trench, Have you had one of those days, right? So we pushed Monday into Tuesday. Well, that means Tuesday gets pushed to Wednesday, and Wednesday is now double booked. And so what do you do? And then, by the way, Wednesday it rained. So now we're really, we thought we were screwed before. Now we're really screwed. So Thursday night, I'm rescheduling Friday's job at 9 o'clock at night. They're upset. I lost trust. I lost potential for referrals. I lost momentum because I didn't build a buffer. And I was busy. I mean, I made money, but I didn't make profit. If I had just like focused and done a buffer of like, okay, I'm only going to do 2 jobs this week instead of 5, like everything would have been fine. I'm sharing this with you because today what I want to talk about real quickly is project scheduling. And by the way, shout out to Paul Val. I think you actually say his name differently, but Paul Val is what he goes by on Facebook. He asked this question in the Landscape Lighting Secrets members only group. And he's like, hey, what happens when one job isn't quite done, but the next job is already scheduled for the next day? Do you keep the crew together until the first job is done? Like, who's in charge of scheduling? Another great question. Do you give install dates right when the job is sold? Like, how do you handle reschedules? And he has his own process, but he's generating discussion and seeing what everyone does. And these are great questions. They're real questions that every growing lighting business is going to face at some point. And most of us learn the hard way. So I want to share with you guys a few tips that I've learned the hard way that hopefully you can learn the easy way. So number one is don't ever run at 100% capacity. And maybe if you go read some like college textbook about capacity, they would be like, this guy's an idiot. But I just know this is how life works. So even if you can schedule 5 days a week, like only plan 3 or 4, because that buffer is going to become your lifesaver. Whether it's rain or a sick team member or someone calling in on a Monday, it's like, oh, I'm sick. Like, why are you always sick on Mondays? Job site delays, maybe you're waiting for something else, right? But something is always going to go wrong. And it's easier to move someone up than push them back, right? So pushing them back kills momentum. It kills trust with your client and it ruins the experience. So under promise install dates and over deliver when you can move them up. And I promise you, this is like, it makes it so much easier. Yes, you need someone to manage the calendar because you got to be like, oh, hey, so-and-so, you're scheduled for next Thursday. We now can do your install on Friday. Does that work for you? And maybe they can't go Friday. So then you got to call the next one, right? But it's way easier to pull people up than push them back. And it keeps the trust that you've built with your client. So if you're like not getting as many referrals after the jobs, maybe it's your scheduling. Maybe it has nothing to do with how many times you ask for a referral. Maybe you lost trust throughout this experience. Number 2, you got to know your daily overhead number. A lot of people, when they don't control their schedule the right way, they end up losing money because they don't realize that they have this daily overhead number. Everyone has one. Most people don't know what it is, but that doesn't mean you don't have one. Okay. And this is the number that it costs you to wake up. Regardless of if you sell a job or install a job or anything, there is a number that you spend for insurance, your trucks, food, like things that you need to survive, right? And a lot of us don't pay ourselves what we should. But if you're like, okay, I'm going to pay myself 150 grand, then you have a daily number that you should count as income. That should be there regardless of if you're going to work or not, because you need to pay your bills, right? So we help you figure out all this inside Landscape Lighting Secrets, but you can do this on your own. You can create a spreadsheet, figure out exactly how much it costs you to operate your business. The pro tip here is to schedule number of days that are available. Like if you're up north, like you might only have 180 or 200 working days. You don't have 365 days to work in a calendar year, no matter where you're located. No one is going to have 365 revenue days. And so the lower the number, the better, because then it gives you a conservative number to go off of, right? And then you want to put in expenses like future expenses. Like, okay, maybe it only costs you $1,500 to operate today, but if you want to hire an operations manager, get a shop, and get 2 more trucks, how much is that going to cost you? Now your daily overhead might be $2,500, $3,500 a day. That will help you with your pricing. The reason this is important, because if you schedule a $10,000 job and you know your daily overhead is $1,500 and you're supposed to finish that job in 1 day and it rolls into day 2, well, now you're screwed, because if you were operating at like a 15% profit margin and you just lost your 15%, that 1,500 the next day, like you didn't make any money. This happened to me over and over and over again, you guys. This might be happening to you where you're like, man, I'm doing pretty good, but I don't know where the money is. It might be because you have a scheduling problem. So you need to know your numbers or you're flying blind. Number 3, never assign a crew to the next job until that current one is complete. So you want to avoid the Jenga tower. Okay. The Jenga tower approach to scheduling is like when one wobbly job causes the whole thing to fall. And then it just puts you, I mean, you have all this thing carefully built, and then one job can't get done because of whatever. So an employee that goes rogue or you break something, or, the weather happens or whatever. And then it just, this delay. And so now you make not just one client upset because you didn't get job done in time, but now the 30 behind them. Right. So you should finish that job in that day, but what if they don't? Right. So leaving that buffer avoids the domino effect that can lead to weeks of phone call reschedules and pissed off clients, So number 4, communicate dates carefully with room to shift. So even if you're like newer in landscape lighting and you're not booked out 6 weeks, just tell people you're booked out 6 weeks. It'll help your sales too, because people will be like, wow, they're in high demand. But one of the things you can do is just say, hey, we're currently scheduled 3 to 4 weeks out. We'll contact you the week of your install to confirm the exact day based on weather and project flow. Okay, that way, like when things change, and they will, you're not apologizing, like you're already in control. So you don't have to tell them the exact day right all the time. And that way you can be moving things in the background, like, oh, you're moving people up and back, and you don't have to notify your client every time that happens. That's chaos that they just don't need to know about. And then when you're going to be there, then you can commit to that date. Number 5, understand that rescheduling happens. Okay, life's not perfect, things happen. So even if you told them the date, it's all about how you communicate. So be proactive, not reactive. This is so important. Some people are like, yeah, I don't know why they're so upset. It was like, because they called you and had to find out. You need to be proactive. So it's a simple phone call. Hey, what's up, John? Just want to give you a heads up. We had a project extend an extra day, due to some change in scope. And we're going to shift your install from Thursday to Friday. Really appreciate your patience. And this really just ensures that we never rush a job and allows us to give you the same project or to give your project the same attention, So you can handle this and people don't care. If you make it a big deal, then they're going to react and make it a big deal as well. But just let people know, hey, this is part of the process, and we're going to get your project done as soon as possible. And then number 6, if you have like a 3-man crew, let me say this. A lot of people are like, well, they'll ask me like, well, how much can I get done in a day? Like 10,000, 12,000, 20 lights, 30 lights. Like, I don't know. Like, how would I know how much you can install in a day? I have clients that can install $25,000, $30,000 in a day with a 4-man install team. And then I have other clients that struggle to get $10,000 done in a day with a 3-man crew, right? So I don't know what your efficiency is like. The only way you'll know is you start measuring. So if you have a 2-man crew and they consistently knock out 25, 30 fixtures in an 8-10 hour day, then that's your benchmark. Like you have to start measuring this yourself, because I can't tell you what is normal. Like what's normal to me is not normal for you. So you if you guys just start tracking today, like, hey, on average, I can do like 2 fixtures per man hour or whatever it is. Like you guys can come up with your own numbers. And then don't forget about other variables, like, is the site rocky? Are there long wire runs? Does the client want extra lights added on the day of install? And some of these things you won't know, which is why you plan a buffer. But you can at least have averages, and you can say, on average, I know we're going to do 30 days, which leads me, or 30 lights in a day, which leads me to my 7th and final one. Who's in charge of the schedule? And it needs to be someone that's involved. So you can't just pass this off to an admin who's never done an install and doesn't know anything, and expect them to succeed. Now, I had my office manager do it, but I trained her and I taught her, hey, this is typically what we can do in a day. Here's the revenue and here's the number of lights, right? So we knew, okay, we can knock out 30 lights with this 3-man install team. But every once in a while, she'd run it by me and say, hey, this is what I got. Does this work? And I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell you. That one is like a bigger estate. I know it's only 30 lights, but it's like these long runs. Why don't we schedule 2 days for that? And also, when I'm selling that, I know that, so I tack on extra money to cover my daily overhead, right? So a lot of moving pieces here, but when you have someone in charge of the schedule and they get to own it, things become a lot easier. So make sure it's someone who actually knows and is involved. And if it's you, that's fine, but you need to schedule time to do the schedule. So wrap it up, and then we'll have Paul on in just a second. When you're growing your business, your calendar is a profit tool. It's not a to-do list. So every day that you miscalculate, like every time a job slides into tomorrow, like it's costing you money. And maybe even more than that is credibility. Like our clients, you guys, it's not about the one-time $20,000 job that they give us today. It's about the lifetime value. And the lifetime value is like, okay, yeah, they did the front yard today. Well, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, they're going to do the backyard. And then they're going to move and they're going to do that house. And they're going to do their lake house. And then they're going to refer their friends, their family. Like the lifetime value of a client in landscape lighting is way higher than the initial. So if you're not really proactive in the experience, and we're just talking about a little piece scheduling right now, then you're going to miss out on the lifetime value. You're going to miss out on momentum that these bigger businesses have that you don't have right now. And it's because they're doing the small things right. So know your capacity, track your margins, protect your calendar like it's your checking account. And I promise you, you're going to get a lot more traction. So today, go take 30 minutes, audit your next 2 weeks, see what it looks like. Are you like stacked in? Is everything too hot? You need to build some buffer. Build in some of that breathing room. Your future self will thank you. So that's it. Thanks, Paul, for asking the question and being vulnerable in the group. So, all right, guys. You know what we got to do? Yeah, we got to do it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Hey, have you ever felt like your lighting projects are missing that special touch? Well, the Scout Pro from Emery Allen might just be what you need. This compact stone tumbled forged brass fixture is perfect for those subtle lighting applications, perfect for small spaces. Think under handrails, within decking, or nestled in flower pots. Despite its size, it packs a punch with 196 lumens and a high CRI of 92, ensuring vibrant and accurate color rendering. And with its IP68 rating, it's ready for any weather. Enhance your installations with the Scout Pro and see the difference. If you're interested, all you need to do is email tomg@emeryallen.com for more information and to set up your contractor account. Remember to mention Lighting for Profits. If you do, all you got to do is say, Ryan Lee, LFP, Lighting for Profits. He will hook you up with that discounted contractor pricing and get you all set up. So just email tomg@emeryallen.com. All right, I think it's time. I feel like it's time. It's time. Let's get Paul on here. Let's find the music. Where's the music? Oh, there it is. Welcome to the show, Mr. Paul Mulkey Jr.
What's up, everybody? Thank y'all for having me.
Dude, I don't know if you're excited, but I'm really excited to have you on. It's been a little over a year since we met, and I'm excited to kind of get a progress report. I hear some rumbles and stuff like that, but I'm excited for that. And before we get started, maybe you want to just do a quick introduction on who you are, and where you're from, what your business looks like, and what your role is in it.
Absolutely. So I started in first I had a sports scholarship to Liberty University, one of the world's most obscure sports, but it was paintball. And so I started there. Didn't want to have anything to do with the family business. So mom's side and dad's side were both in the horticulture department, mainly design and arborist. So I was there for a semester. Was always into extreme sports. I had a broken wrist that I was unaware of, and played the full semester. And then when I came home for Christmas, planned on just a normal Christmas break, and came back, and they had to take part of my hip and put it in my wrist. So I was not going back to Liberty the next semester. And prior to this, I'd worked in, my parents' landscape company for, my entire life and the tree business. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing all that labor. And so I was sitting on the couch with my friends. I had a cast on, and my dad came home from work. We're all just sitting there on the couch, basically just being potatoes. And he told me to be ready at 5 a.m. the next morning, and I'd be in the truck with him. And that kind of started the whole road that I'm on now.
Very cool. So that got you back into the family business that you were like, I'm not going to be part of the family business. And it sounds like
absolutely none of it. Yep.
it sounds like you had some prior experience of maybe some manual labor that you were trying to avoid.
Lots and lots of manual labor. So in the Mulkey household, you had to work 1 month of each summer. I didn't have to be with family company, so started working restaurants when I was like 14 and legally able to work, Paul Sr. Yeah, we would, we really have an awesome clientele base. So really working on some crazy properties, and it's really cool because I get to go back now and see these properties grow into what they are. Um, and some of them are things that I've little hedges I little planted myself, and now they're bigger than me. So yeah, really cool to come back, but getting to come in on that design back end side, the business side, and ride around with my dad because my arm was broke. I got to fall in love with it. So here in Charleston, we have Trident Technical College, and they have a horticulture program. It was ran by a guy named Mac Fleming, and he brought me in under his wing. I kind of fell in love with all things horticulture, and then really we got off to a quick start designing some really crazy gardens, and I got to be a part of that and kind of worked my way from crew leader, all the way through, and have worn all hats and pretty much wear all hats now.
Very cool. So, at what point did you discover landscape lighting? I'm sure you guys did some. I know you did some projects with that company, but it wasn't a full on landscape lighting business at that point. How did
Correct.
you become the landscape lighting guy for the company?
Yeah, so 2013, I started with the tree clinic. I'm 31 years old. And then in 2015, thereabouts, so we always had somebody who subcontracted for lighting. He was a good guy, did a good job. But it was one of those, things that I kind of always had my eye on, and I really appreciated it. And my dad didn't really want to have anything to do with business at night. And he was like, "Hey man, if you want to try this," and the good news was LED was, kind of, I wouldn't say groundbreaking, but at that time it was, really becoming, prominent, and that's what you use. So it was an easier start than the halogen days. So bravo to all the guys before me that did all those calculations. I did two halogen jobs, and they taught me a lot, to say the least. But yeah, so 2015, really I was just installing lights. I would like to say that I had a design. I go back to some of them, and I'm not as proud as I would be. Luckily, most of our clients are longtime clients, so I can kind of explain that, and we get through it, and kind of redesign, tweak it. And then about probably 4 to 5 years ago, I decided we are gonna, take this thing seriously. And then I was kind of just telling you about, I'd say 18 months, 2 years ago. I'm married. We started to decide to have a family. And that's when things really started to double down. And, that's when I really started studying lighting, really trying to tweak in my designs, and be a true company.
Was part of that desire to like find your own thing? Because it seems like a lot of people, friends of mine and people that I work with inside Landscape Lighting Secrets, if they come from like a family business, are kind of like, I want to make my own impact. I want to make my own mark on the world. Was there some of that going on too?
There's a little bit of that, but our businesses coexist so much that, it would be unfair for me to say that, I'm doing this all alone.
Mhm.
We have a lot of shared clients, and now it's going the other way. We're bringing in a lot of clients, for our family business called the Tree
Very
Clinic as
cool.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was in there. I would like to tell myself no, but I really don't think so. A lot of it came down to, that was, I wasn't making some crazy, boss's son salary. I was just, a laborer there in the beginning, and I needed to make more money, and it was a good way to do it. Like I said, LED was just coming out. I think it was John Deere still, but then Site One, so kind of just popping in and out of those stores, getting to see what was going on, and then, man, once these landscape projects can be so long, so difficult, so dirty, so expensive. Um, you do a lighting job, and it's quiet, it's clean, it's tight. And, when you flip that switch on, and we'll get to the, kind of live designs, as I would like to call it, when you flip that switch on and you see those homeowners' reaction, that is an addictive feeling.
That's why we're all here. It's like you try to tell that to a normal person and that's like they don't understand it, but we're crazy.
Well, it's really cool. I have a lot of friends, being, 30, 31. I have a lot of friends who are, just now getting into their first yard or whatever it is. And, I try to surround myself with people who do well. So, they've done the kitchen renovation, they put the pool in, they've done, whatever it may be. And that part, even just getting them outside is huge, because at first it's just like, hey, the interior of my house, I need a clean lawn, that's it. And then you start to realize, the value on these outdoor living spaces. And you brought that up earlier, which was, we need to change people's lives at the end of the day. So, are you really selling a fixture? Yes, technically. But in my opinion, you're really selling that, other dimension of the landscape that truly just doesn't exist
Love it.
otherwise.
Well, this was I remember that on our we were on a Zoom call, and you decide. I can't remember if you decide. I'm pretty sure you decided. You're like, yeah, I'm in. You're like, I have a demo tonight, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I kept using the word demo. You might have been talking about live demo or whatever your term was.
I called it demo. Now it's a live design.
Okay, now it's a live design. By the time I thought we were talking about the same thing. So that night, and I was like, "Oh, dude, cool." And I still like love lighting design. I don't have an active like lighting business, but I was like, "Yeah, text me some photos." And you text me these photos, and I was like, "Dude, that's the coolest demo I've ever seen." Like, I'm like, "Dude, that looks legit. Like, that looks like an actual install." And tell everyone what you said. I guess. Do you remember what you said?
I don't remember what I said exactly, but so with the
I guess
clientele we
tell us
work
what you
with,
did, because I just thought it was a demo. Like,
yeah.
I
So
used to
so
set up
what
a
we do,
demo of
yeah.
like,
So what we do. Now there's a couple things excluded, but what Ryan got to see was, our demo process is I tell a client what our ballpark area that we're trying to be in is. And then as long as, we have a good relationship and I don't think I'm going to get burned. And to be clear, in the 8 years, I had one client pull out an entire system, and then I would say 0.75 for the rest of the lights pulled out. So, I mean, this has been a pretty successful way to do things. But so essentially, we set up the entire system, bury wires, drill into the house, whatever we need to do. And then they are actually able to, so I bring them outside. I encourage them to have a glass of wine. It's a fun night. I bring them outside and I flip those lights on and ask, do you want to add more? Is anything dark? And do you want to take anything out? And, in a psychological way, people kind of fear losing things, especially when it looks good.
I was blown away. Because I was zooming in on the pictures. I was like, how did he? I saw like this walkway, and you had
Yep.
lights on both sides, and I was like, I don't see a wire. I'm like zooming in. I'm like, what did he like Photoshop the wire out? Like, why would he Photoshop the wire out to just send me a quick text? This isn't like, a contest or anything. And then you're like, oh no, yeah, we just like do the whole install. I'm like, what? You do the whole install? Like, that's a demo? That's crazy. And
So I mean,
it's
to this day, that's exactly how we do it, and I really stand by it. It's not something I do not, and let me be clear, I do not, uh, I wouldn't I wouldn't suggest that people do this in markets that they don't know. If you're just using, Google My Business and it's a cold lead, there's some jobs that we won't do it on. But, our average home that we're starting on is, over the $5 million mark. And, understand, you obviously have to get, a feel for that customer, make sure that you're on the same page. But as long as you get them on the same page, again, as I tell them, there's no liability in it for them. If they want to, they can rip every single light out.
It's cool. I like that there's lots of different ways to win. And I appreciate you sharing that. Like, hey, if you're just running Google ads to a cold audience or something like that, maybe this maybe this isn't your strategy. If you've got a warm clientele and you've got that relationship, that just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And just because it doesn't work for someone else doesn't mean it can't work for you. So I appreciate you sharing that. I want to talk about a little bit about your experience so far because it's relatively new. I mean, you've got experience obviously in the field, you've done lighting, but in terms of like starting this new standalone lighting business that's separately ran, like how are things going? Is it better than you thought, harder than you thought? Like how are you feeling right now, a couple of years in?
Yeah, so coming from running the family business, it's actually been surprisingly easy, and I don't mean to say that like in a way to make anybody else feel any certain way. But that being said, there's so much less moving parts than with full landscape construction and arboriculture. Now the hours are long. I'm still running the other family business. I'm at the shop at 5:30. in the morning every single day. And then, in the summer when we have these, demos / live designs, I can be out until 10:30 at night. So they can be really, really long days. So I would say the family situation, that's the only part that I would say really makes it hard. But about 2 years ago, when I said I was going to make things serious, I went to my crew. At that point, pretty much anybody inside our landscape construction company could come join one of our installs. Um, and then I just told, my main guys, I said, hey, look, you're responsible for the guys below you. If you think they're producing enough and that's going to benefit the job, perfect. If not, don't invite them. And so we went from probably using 12 guys to now we use 6. And the most people I will put on a job is 2.
Very cool. So 2-man install teams.
Correct.
Okay. And like, how many lights? Like, how many lights are
Well,
they doing per day, or what are their expectations?
So, it can be different. And, so Ryan and I were joking at the beginning of the podcast. I think I may be one of the worst students in the entire Lighting for Profits group, or Landscape Lighting Secrets. And I only say that because I really have fun with lighting. It's something I really enjoy. But I'm not tracking those numerics the way that I should. But we do a lot of lights. So I guess today, we're probably getting in 30 to 50 lights, regular mounted. We did one, we're doing one right now and yesterday, where I think he hit 50, and we had to do 11 of them were louvered step lights that he actually had to attach to the house.
So he got like a 2-man crew got 50 lights done in one day.
Correct.
Transformer mounted, lights turned on.
Do you want to hear the craziest part? Those guys work. Those guys work in the family business with me, and they're essentially partners in Landscape Lighting of Charleston. So they're working a full day, and then we actually do all of these jobs in the afternoons and weekends.
Oh, really? So they're starting off in the morning with the landscape company, get off there, and then go do lighting.
Yeah, so as everybody in this business knows, retention of employees is a difficult thing in our industry, and how much can you pay them? So when I find these rock star guys in the landscape, portion of the company, and you got to think we're fighting with the Country Club of Charleston, we're fighting with, whatever it may be. There's entities in Charleston, that will pay people. There's private estates, that want some of these guys. So what I found was, okay, why reinvent the wheel? Why, meet all of these new people? Not that I'm opposed to it, but I have these guys that, we really have an opportunity to all grow and grow this business together. So they are essentially, partners in this business with me. No, they don't own, any stake in the business. But I try to compensate them, as if they did.
Well, you jokingly said you might be one of the worst client of Landscape Lighting Secrets. I think actually you just inspired an idea. Every year at Secret Summit, which is coming up September 25th, we come out with some new things like, hey, new feature. We're going to try this for 12 months. We're going to try this, see what works, right? Well, I think maybe we should do like our best clients and our worst clients. So there'll be a little competition to see like, okay, who actually is the worst. Even though you say, okay, maybe I'm the worst. What are some things that you've taken away? Some of the things that you've learned, maybe about lighting, maybe about the sales process, about profitability, those types of things.
Man, for anybody listening, and I'm somewhat joking. So a big part of what I do is, I actually started applying a lot of the things in the lighting business first, but it is kind of it's not a side thought, but it's my little passion project. It's my baby on the side. So I started implementing a lot of the things I was learning in Landscape Lighting Secrets with so I started with Landscape Lighting in Charleston. And then we actually switched over, and I started implementing it more in the family business. So really taking 35 years of data and content, et cetera, and then trying to be able to streamline that into a way that you can even read it. We were on QuickBooks Desktop that was not even, you can't buy it. They wanted to kick you off.
Yeah.
And now we're running multiple VAs. We're trying to track things. We're working on marketing a lot. And the power of social media is crazy. I was, just listening to, I believe it's Coggins, his podcast that y'all just had.
Yeah.
And him talking about social media, and he's right. I heard his name, and I know that the context is not clear, but he was talking about, the fact that, he's on, on Instagram so much that sometimes clients say they know his name, and he's exactly right. I actually, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was in my subconscious, but he was right. He's right there, because I was thinking recently, who's this Nightlight franchise? Who's behind all this? Because I was seeing a
Interesting.
little bit of it. And then, lately, to kind of tie it into what we're doing, and I even told the lady, so we're working for someone on Southern Charm. It's a Bravo TV show I don't care too much about. I don't necessarily watch it. That being said, she looked at our Instagram and said, oh, these are rookie numbers. And I was like, hey, I don't really care about, having this massive following. If you can get me 100 moms on this, on this, this really high end neighborhood, perfect. And she shared something, and we had, I believe it was like close to 300 something thousand impressions. We got a few design jobs coming up in Oregon. We have a couple coming up in Florida, and then I have one in New York. And that was all from one job. And so to say
Wow.
that social media doesn't matter um, is a bit naive. It's hard, I think, is what it really comes down to. But she really showed me just how important it was.
It is hard. It takes a ton of discipline, a ton of consistency, but I like that idea of tapping into other people's networks,
It's
We
a
talk about,
huge multiplier.
I mean, I talk about all the time referral partners and getting into their networks, but tapping into someone else's who already is an influencer, someone who already has that following. I mean, it's hard to how many followers does she have? It's going to take you a long time to get there. You can just tap into hers with one post. That's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's been really fun. I took some notes, and I don't mean to make this too sterile, but I think there's some points that will be fun to bring into. Um, you brought it up in your initial kind of 10-minute speech, but a funny little saying that I heard, profit for vanity, uh, uh, revenue for or sorry, profit for
Revenue
sanity,
for
revenue
vanity,
for
profit.
vanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that's just something that can be so overlooked. And, I know that I kind of went down this rabbit hole there for a little while, where I was just kind of chasing that top end number. And then, when we did find out we were having a kid, I, did a ton of this scaling back. So, we literally, brought down our labor by 100%. Whenever I came in, we brought up our cost by 100%. And then, design
Cost
confidence and
meaning
just,
you mean like your price 100%?
yes.
You
So
doubled
yeah,
your
so
prices?
ticket item, yeah.
Okay.
And then, and then I think the biggest point, I think it's so funny you're talking about West Palm Beach, is, just getting confidence to believe that you can really design and do, these really awesome projects. And yeah, I'm kind of putting myself out there doing that with these live designs. And, when they get really big, we obviously have conversations. But that being said, it's so cliche, but confidence in what you do, knowing you're the authority when you get to the meeting, it just goes so far, and it went to show on what our close rate was, and what we were able to charge per fixture, and a lot of that just comes down to really trying to be passionate about what you do, and not just trying to be, like, being passionate about what you do. I know a lot of the program is essentially to kind of scale more. I don't want to say work less, but create efficiencies. Man, I love work, and I'm sure I'm going to get to a point where I am going to need to kind of pivot these things, and we are with the family business, like I said. But at this given point in time, I'm loving just going after it.
Very cool. So talk a little bit about your numbers. I mean, what has happened? Like you're talking about you doubled your prices, you've cut some of your expenses. Um, we have different levels. Like there's different levels in business where you really want to focus on revenue because again, the lifetime value of a client, if they pay you, $50,000 today, it's not going to end there. They're going to give you stuff down the road. Um, and then there's times where you're reinvesting a lot of the profits back into growth. If someone's doing heavy advertising, other people do referrals and stuff like that. But can you share? I mean, you don't have to share actual dollar amounts, but
Yeah,
percentages like.
so literally we took, I had a lot of guys that, I mean, I don't want to say it was a charity, but they were, coming in for that afternoon and weekend work, and they really weren't putting the time in that some of the other guys were. So I actually gave the guys that stuck around, a raise, probably higher than a pretty substantial raise. And then I got rid of a lot of what I consider the noise. And a lot of that noise was, you go back and something's not done properly, and we're having to do that multiple times. So we legitimately, over one fiscal year, brought down our labor rate by 100%. And then we did that price increase, and to be blunt, I had signed up for your program, and when I paid for it, I was like, I got to pay for this. And thank
Exactly.
God for this first client who just didn't flinch. So they didn't flinch, and I was just like, okay, this is the way we do. Really, I know we stand by our service, I know we provide the value, and in order for us to be able to grow the way that I know we need to, and to be able to provide for the guys' families and my family, like there's just no option. Like we have to. And so when we started to look at the burn rate in the family business, then it started to make me more aware of what the burn rate for the lighting business was. And to be fair, no, I don't have that answer. I should. But when I did that, it made me much more comfortable to understand that, like, hey, it's okay to charge what you're worth. And I had an interesting experience recently. So this guy, multi million-dollar home, very, very expensive office downtown in a church. Um, and, he asked me to, so we're kind of going back and forth. We weren't vibing that much. I think he's a good guy. Um, and so the first meeting was a little odd. Then I got to his office, and I kind of looked around, and, he had wires hanging. There was just a mess in the office. He didn't care about his environment. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do is realize, the consumers that we're working with and the consumers that we're looking for as people in this industry, you don't want to go, you want to go after that person who's really into what they have, and they're good consumers, and they appreciate and they value nice things. And that's not to say to overcharge anyone. We don't have a different price for any neighborhood. It's nothing like that. It's just, we try to provide a certain level of service that I simply can't pay for if we don't, hit certain numbers, sell at a certain price, and stay and yeah, so hit certain numbers, sell at a certain price, and then do the quality of job that we need to.
Well, it's I can sense it. I can feel it because if you're not if you're answering the phone or you hear someone's a client's name, you're like, oh great, them again. Then you didn't charge enough. Like I can sense in your like emotion, your feeling, your energy that you actually love what you're doing. Like you're
Oh
not
yeah.
work like this is awesome. And so the problem is a lot of people are like they don't like what they're doing. It's usually because they're not making enough money. Whereas like if the phone rings and it's Mrs. Smith, it's like, oh hey, we charged enough. Just so you know, we charged enough that we're going to be able to come back and over deliver one more time. We're going to bend over backwards, going to roll out the red carpet, the white glove. You are going to get treated like a rock star because you invested the right amount, as opposed to someone who's like cheap and difficult. You're like, oh my gosh, dude, if I hear that name one more time, it's like, well, if you would have charged them 10 times the amount, you'd be like, oh, cool. What can we do for you today? Like, it just doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You're actually excited to serve them because they committed to you. Now you committed to them. It's a relationship and you want to over deliver on that relationship.
100%, 100%. And again, when you work for that customer who's just so excited to have, what I would call, the Ferrari class of, lighting job, you pull up to that and you're just so excited. Like it's just such a good feeling. It's a nice home, it's a nice landscape, and you end up just getting to do such a good job. And it brings me to service. Sometimes it's so funny. I'll have these, people that spend really good money with us, and I got a text message today. And I'll give clients my personal cell phone. And, I had a homeowner ask me, she said she was having an issue well, we have a first year completely complimentary. I kind of joke around, as long as you don't hit it with a golf club or run it over, we'll fix anything that happens within that first year. And then we go over to our maintenance plan, which I think we should discuss in a little bit. And it was so funny when she said, I've been trying to fix this. It's like, well, literally everything you pay for is for us to be there, and I tell people, and I know that, back to the scheduling thing, it's dangerous, but I like the pressure, and I think it's important to operate this way. Is, our goal is to be there within 24 to 48 hours of any call, and hopefully less.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, do you want to play quick hit controversials?
Let's do it.
This is our lightning round we introduced just a few weeks ago. So it's been kind of fun. I think we should do it. So this is quick hit controversials, lightning round with Paul Mulkey. All right. Are you sure you're ready for this pressure? You said you wanted some pressure.
I do.
This could divide the lighting industry for time and all eternity.
Okay.
All right. What's more important? What's more important? Does beautiful design or perfect installation?
You can't have a perfect installation without a beautiful design. You can't have a beautiful design without a perfect installation.
No, you got to
pick ways.
You have to pick one.
I have to pick.
Controversial.
Then it has to be perfect installation.
All right. Oh, the designers out there hate you. Okay. We already know the answer to this one, I guess. Nighttime demos, secret sauce or waste of time?
Secret sauce.
Would you rather have 10 jobs at 5K or 5 jobs at 10K?
5 jobs at 10K all day.
5 jobs at 10K. The lighting industry in 3 words. Go.
Beautiful, fun, and challenging.
Challenging. It's challenging coming up with 3 words for the lighting industry.
Well, challenging, you think of all the hard to reach little peaks and valleys of, lighting areas. So, I love trying to conquer those little decisions design wise.
Add-on lighting versus standalone lighting company. Who's got the better future?
I may not understand the question properly. So what's an add-on? I understand.
Landscaper that does lighting or Landscape Lighting of Charleston?
So to be fair, I think standalone lighting is better for the lighting industry in particular. And we operate Landscape Lighting of Charleston as if it is its own standalone entity.
Yeah. But it is nice that you have the relationships and the client list that you can, those people already like you, trust you, of course, to lean on them. That's the advantage of bolting it on. Yeah, but I do like that you guys branded it as its own company.
To give that context, we can export 35 years. I mean, obviously they're not all there, but of, clients straight into our lighting portfolio. So, in terms of referral partners, it's invaluable.
Yeah. I like it. A lot of people want to know they're coming with an existing business. Do I just bolt it on? Do I rebrand? And I think you guys did it the right way. All right. You can only keep one: quality fixtures or top tier design skills.
Top tier design skills.
Wow. You hate quality fixtures. Okay. Good to know. It's quick hit controversials. Upselling lighting during a, yeah, we'll just keep that beat going. Okay. Upselling lighting during a landscaping job. Genius move or clutters up the landscape sell?
Genius move.
You guys do it while you're selling the landscape job and say, hey, also as part of this design, we're throwing in 100 lights.
We don't add details. They need lights in their landscape.
Love it. Sell scripts, cheat code or crutch?
Hate me for this. Crutch.
Oh, I like it. So controversial. I need to ask you about that one after. That's too controversial. Most overrated lighting feature. Okay, most overrated lighting feature: color changing, app control, or dimming.
Oh, I could hit on all 3.
Most overrated.
Color changing.
Who gets paid more, the artist or the closer? The designer or the salesperson?
The answer's in the question. The closer.
DIY customers, help them or ghost them?
Help.
Aw, such a good guy.
Yeah, help. Hey, they may have a friend.
Hey, and they might be richer next year. Landscape lighting is a luxury or a necessity?
It's a luxury.
Okay.
Depending on no, it's a necessity. Actually, I'm sorry. I retract necessity. Residential landscape lighting can be a luxury.
This is apostasy. Yeah, I mean the thing is if someone's never had it, they think it's luxury. Once they've had it, it's always a necessity. They'll get it before they get blinds installed at their next house.
And that's kind of the point I was making about some of my friends who are coming of financial age. It's fun to see them start to really value their environment.
Oh, this is a good one. This is I hope your family's listening. Family business dynamics, unfair advantage or constant challenge?
Constant challenge.
Whoa, shots fired. Look out. This is going to be an awkward meeting tomorrow morning. Would you rather train someone from scratch or steal someone with experience?
Train someone from scratch.
Okay. Slow growth with control or fast growth with chaos?
Slow growth.
All right, last one. You only get one. 100 5-star reviews or one celebrity client?
100 5-star reviews.
You hate celebrities. All right, good to know. That was, what do we call it? Quick hit controversials with Paul Mulkey, who hates celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that was good. I learned some things about Paul that I didn't know. So that was good. Some of the questions I'm like, oh, I know what he's going to say. And then you said the opposite. So it's good to know.
So you asked Billy Coggins drop in versus integrated.
Yeah.
Can you please sell me on it? Sell me on integrated fixtures.
Wait, so okay.
You have to sell me.
Okay. First, I'm going to ask you, drop in or integrated?
I asked the question first. It's only fair for you to answer the question.
Well, I just want to know what you think. Which one do you like better?
I want to hear your unsolicited opinion.
All right, so here's my opinion. I was going to be a quick hit controversial. It was going to be a moment. It was going to be a clip we were going to use for time and eternity.
Sorry.
So here's my thing. I actually want to do what the competition is not doing. Right. So when I started using, I mean, at first I was just using the cheap stuff because that's all I could afford, and I didn't know how to sell and all this stuff. So I'm just using drop in like everyone else. And then everyone was like, well, it became a commodity. Right. And so I actually am for what your competition's not using. And in my case, it was integrated. Now there's some really cool things about integrated. Like if you want like a small niche fixture, well, you're not going to get a drop in that's that small, you know? So I'm definitely pro integrated, those little cool niche lights and stuff like that. And then it really just depends on, again, like if people are selling at like $300 a light and they're doing drop in, well, then I want to be $500 a light and be integrated because it's a blue ocean strategy. I'm not sitting here fighting in this red ocean with everyone else. So I like integrated. I like drop in. It really depends on what you're doing, who you're selling it to. If someone is not going to pay for integrated because they're like, well, I'm moving in like 3 to 5 years, well, then I've got a drop in option for you as well. You know, so yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think the answer, if as I've gotten better at being a coach, the number one answer I like to respond with is it depends.
I think that's a great answer. And to answer your question, I'm a drop-in guy. So I got to start working with Tom Garber and the team, Tom G Money Gangster, whatever you want to call him, the OG.
Tom G at emeryallen.com.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But no, Tom's been great to work with, his entire team. And that's not why I say drop in. We did drop ins before that. And I think it's important to note that, there's so many different situations where, I may try to be in this drop-in army. That being said, like his Scout Pro is just like it's awesome. So I really enjoy working with that product, and I don't have any real benefit in saying this, but I did my house recently, and we're actually at like an upgrade to my house, and I was actually able to put a Scout Pro on a flower. So small little bushy flower, and I had a palm tree above it, and it's in a pot, and the Scout literally floats on the flower, kind of illuminates the flower from the sides, and hits the palm tree.
That's cool.
Now you
Well,
couldn't do that in anybody else's house, but it's really
right.
cool.
Well, and I will say this for new people, I'm like, dude, you almost just need to start with drop in because you don't know enough about what you don't know. And so if you go out and do an install and all of a sudden like it's too bright, well, you can just go drop in a different lamp and put in 60 degree, or if you had a 7 watt, just go put a 4. Like, so it again, it just depends on where you're at, like what your challenges are. And if you don't have competition because you've marketed to through referral partners, for example, like you don't have competition when you have referral partners. It's just like they're going to go with you if they like you, they trust your design skills and all that. Then you can do whatever you want, right? So again, I don't want to I wouldn't commit to one or the other unless I knew more information about the market and the individual, what their goals were and what they're dealing with. So you also have inventory to think about, like if you're going to have integrated, like what are you going to keep on your truck? Because you certainly don't want to go back for maintenance and not have that fixture or that lamp on hand to be able to just take care of it. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of factors to consider in that question.
Yeah, and we are, to be fair, we're having to move to more integrated. But I'm part of the drop-in army. But
Drop in army.
something that's really cool. I mean, man. So I mean, again, working with Tom over at Emory Allen and those guys. Looking at the quality of life they're producing, and then also you have to imagine if we are doing these live demos, it's really important. And for me, part of it, it's not just a live demo or a live design, but we're tweaking that design. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised when I hear these well established, guys in different companies saying that, they may not do, evening, adjustments because, you know, I mean a quarter of an inch, can make the difference of that sharp shadow versus not having it. And the value on that, the value of being with those homeowners whenever that finished product is there, I really can't put a price on it. I just think it's so important. And what's really cool, and I think at some point you'd ask, is it scalable? Yes, it is. So I'm now having some of my top installers do some of our smaller jobs, and they're able to they do it, and I kind of put it on them to figure out what beam spread. I'll obviously check over it before it goes through. But they're learning a lot, and I think drop-ins are powerful for that reason. And I also like to be able to service it, but I think we can get pretty far down the rabbit hole, for what reasons we like them. Also, yeah, there's a lot of reasons, but I really do want to shout out to Tom G. At Emory Allen. Those guys have taken such good care of me, and this is not it's not a paid for advertisement. I just have a really good relationship with them, and I think they have a really awesome product.
I thought like right when you said that this wad of cash was just going to like flow from the ceiling or something like your payment has arrived. No, I love Tom. I love his family. I love his business. I love that there's people like him that just they care so much. Like because I don't care too much about like 92 CRI. Like I'm okay with 89. You know what I mean? But like people care so much about that, and it really does impact the final result of what we're doing here. So it's amazing that people are constantly trying to get better and evolving and Tom G at emeryallen.com, he is a drop-in guy that created an integrated fixture. So
Hey,
I
the
don't know what to
Rangers, so the Scout and the Ranger, I mean, they both have their own, use case, but yeah, they're both awesome products. But I do think, in my opinion, it really comes down to that quality of light and then flexibility. I think that's a really important part.
So, I want to ask you about referral partners. What is that? Has that been like a major growth segment for you? Like, what are some of your cheat codes for growing your lighting business?
Absolutely. So there is a pool company in town, and they have been integral. We're doing probably right now 7 jobs for them, like this month right now as we speak. And then and then one of those jobs, the eighth job, is actually my dad's house. So that's a really fun project. He's a super creative guy, so it's been a really hilarious lighting project just
You
because
charge
he
him
has
extra?
he's getting a pretty good deal.
I
And it's
mean,
gonna
you
be a
always got to
super.
charge family at least 20-30% more. They're always just more difficult, you know. So
Oh, he is. He would tell me to start with the design, and then he'd stop me and tell me we were going to do it a different way. So, it's been so much fun, and there's a lot of cool things that we're implementing there that are really fun. You can take that Scout Pro and take these little old candle holders or whatever it may be, find these antiques, and you can literally build these crazy little lightscapes at night that just create this awesome ambiance with that product that you could do it with other products, but that fixture has just been a home run to be able to do things like that.
cool. What'd you do? What like when you reach out to try to get a new referral partner? What is your pitch? What are you telling them?
So reaching out's been hard, frankly. And this is where I go back to: am I the worst student? Am I a good student?
I mean, we do have the
It's
script sitting there waiting for you to just read them. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's difficult, but the ones that we have gotten and the ones that have worked are literally the difference of where we were 2 years ago and where we're not, and where we are today. Without that, we have the one major pool company. We have a couple fence contractors. I got an artificial turf guy. Each of those guys bring stuff to the table. The reason I really like the pool company is it brings me back to these high-end pre-qualified leads. If you're spending anywhere from 90 to 350 on a pool, then we're talking business and we can work together.
Yeah. I love it too. They're pre-qualified. They also get to that point where, when are most people actually going to use their pool? I mean, yeah, on a Saturday they might use it during the day, but most of these people, even if they're making millions, they still work. Like they're like us. They like to work. It's not like they're like, oh man, I have to go to work. They're addicted to it. So they don't actually get to enjoy this until they get home after work. And yeah, right now it might not matter because it gets dark so late, but like another few weeks they're going to miss out on enjoying these properties, these backyards that they spent half a million dollars on when you add up the pool and the landscape and the garden, all this stuff. So it just makes sense for them. And it actually ties in everything. Like it actually adds more value to the pool company because you take a picture and you send that to them, they're going to sell their next pool with the nighttime lights on. They're not going to sell it with the day shot. They're going to sell it with the night shot.
So I would say that was actually an interesting part of the relationship with the pool company was I think, they just felt like I was only giving them, or they were only benefiting me. And then they started to do some of their photo shoots and they're paying good money for this. And they're doing them at night with the lights on. And so it's one of those things, and then what's been really important, and I've heard you mention this, is now finally being able to bring them over some jobs. That's been the secret sauce with any of my referral partners. You bring somebody jobs, somewhat consistently, especially high ticket items like that. And that's where it seems for me personally, the referral partner situation is just really, really amped things up.
It means so much. Even if you just gave them like a few opportunities, you can't control if they close the sale or not. But if you just say, "Hey, I got this client. They're looking for a pool. I want to introduce you guys." They're like, "Wow, okay, Paul's a team player." Like this,
Oh,
that solidifies the relationship. You know.
we're aggressive. I mean, I will take another company's contract, and this may sound bad, and give it to my guy and be like, look, here's what you got to beat. Is this apples to apples? And, I need you in there. And it's not for bad reason. I know that I can get whoever my client is, a better product if they work with the company that I personally think is the best. And I know that I have a little bit of leverage with them to make sure that, they're taking certain considerations into play, whether it be lighting or just, ease of use, overall.
You mentioned maintenance plans earlier. When you guys, it sounds like you include a full year. Is that to everybody, or is that negotiating, or how do you guys?
Everybody gets a full year unquestioned. I don't do the subscription model that a lot of people do. I'm definitely not opposed to it from a long-term business standpoint. That being said, we bill by the hour, we charge by the hour, and we do really well by it.
And
I
so
think
you sell that
services
at 12
so
months.
so yeah, we start that at 12 months. Being in the salty environment that we are, some are quarterly, some are biannually, and some are annually. A lot of that goes depending on the environment. Some of that goes more down to client preference. But what I'll say is a lot of these higher ticket jobs, some of these people, and to be crystal clear, at the core of this is to be of service to our clients and to make sure that we can offer them the best product possible. If I tell somebody to go look at 10 addresses in the same neighborhood and there's bushes growing over our lights and we have pathways that are sideways, and I know Coggins likes that, and then we have wires showing, it's not a good look. So it doesn't just benefit them, but it benefits us to be able to have a perfect project. A lot of our projects are in very close proximity. There's a lot of golf course communities here, and if I can give somebody addresses and they walk through, that's a really easy way to decide that that's somebody that can qualify for a living design, for a live design.
Well, not only that, but you got to remember our clients that they're using the space, they're having people over, they're entertaining, and if half the lights are out, or even just a handful, and it just looks like okay, it's not amazing, right? And so you talked about that reveal night, like we love that, we want to see it too, right? And so when they have their friends over, they're like, oh my gosh, who did your lighting? And it's kind of crazy because when you do the lighting right, they're actually not asking that question. They're like, oh, who did your landscaping?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, going back to West Palm Beach, so I like to go to the Four Seasons. It's a guilty pleasure, and I'm not saying that to be like pompous or like sound cool. Um, Man, I come away going to those properties with more design insight than I think I could, I mean, I'm sure going to some of these programs would be better. But, the Palm Beach Four Seasons, for example, their lighting is just absolutely insane. And, I think putting yourself in those spaces, those higher end spaces, and, really understanding what's truly possible, is just such an important thing to do. And they show a lot of range in their design.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that's for a lot of people will say like don't sell with your wallet and stuff like that. And I say like don't limit your clients because of your limited beliefs. Just because you're like, oh, I wouldn't spend that kind of money. I wouldn't put 10 lights on a tree. I'll just do two or whatever it is. But really, like when you kind of peek into the lifestyle that these people are living, it opens up your mind to realize like they truly don't care. Just because they're asking you for a deal doesn't mean they need it. They might just be
Yeah.
like, "Can you come
Well,
down 10 grand?" "No." "Okay,
yeah,
well, when can you start?"
we one thing my dad always taught me was a good consumer is always going to watch their cost. So just because like you said somebody asked for it, but I also want to clarify, I obviously have a higher end residential client list. That being said, these people didn't get to where they are by making poor financial decisions.
Right.
So I think it's important to know that yeah, you have to have that value, and it's not like anybody's getting taken advantage of. It's just they, like you said, it opens your eyes to not, the way that I've always heard it is shop out of your own wallet. And I think that's such an important thing to do. It's design it full capacity, and don't shop out of your own wallet when thinking about that design. And to this day, after doing that process of a live design for so long, or a demo, whatever you want to call it, still have to remind myself there may be that one light that I'm thinking I might not put in because it's kind of hard, but I think it's going to make a big difference. That light has to go in. So important.
Nice. I do like the new term. I like live design because it's not a demo. I
No,
I do
yeah, yeah,
demos with 12 lights, and I don't bury the wires. Like, you're way better than me. You're doing a live design.
yeah. Yeah, I like the process.
Yeah, it's good. Well, and people confuse. They're like, like you said something actually that was really good. Like, our clients, they didn't make it to this by making poor financial decisions, but to them, the definition poor financial decision is different. Like you could give someone an $80,000 number for a lighting design and installation, and someone could come in and I guarantee promise the exact same number of fixtures for 40,000 bucks. Well, the poor financial decision in our client's mind is to do the 40,000 because it's not going to be done right. They're not going to be able to get a hold of them. There's going to be crappy connections. There's going to be crappy fixtures. And then they have to pay you to come out and take their system out and do the $80,000 one. So now it costs them 120 instead of just 80. So poor financial decisions isn't always, oh, they're not going to just not pay the most. Like they will. It just is all about value. There's this price and value. And as soon as the value is more than the price, doesn't matter what the price is. You could charge $1,500 a light and still sell landscape lighting. As long as the value is higher than that, they're always going to pull the trigger. That's a smart financial decision for them. The value just has to be there. That's why they buy nice houses that are $5 million. That's why they buy cars that are $500,000 because the value is greater than the 500,000. They know they can go buy a Hyundai for $30,000. They are aware that they could save money by buying a cheaper car, but that's not what they're after. They're after value.
Yeah, the guy I brought up at the Bestie office, he specifically asked me if I could build him a Toyota. Um, and I think Toyotas are incredible vehicles, by the way, just to put that out there. But when he said that, and I, looking at the space he's sitting in, it did make me realize that, we weren't exactly aligned on our values and exactly, what we're looking for out of the project and, lifespan of, how long he was going to last. So, I know it's a little odd that I'm focusing on him, but I think that just being aware of who your client is and you may be able to communicate on this a little better is just such an important thing. You got to know who your client is, and you got to know some of the best deals you make or some of the deals you don't. And that's a saying that has been invaluable to me personally.
Well said. I mean, you try to sell a Ferrari to the guy who wants a Toyota, it's just not going to work. And on the other side, if you try to sell a Toyota to the guy who wants a Ferrari, it's just not going to work.
Nope.
That's not your client. So, all right, man. Well, what are you most excited about in the next 6 to 12 months for your lighting business?
6 to 12 months.
Or are you not excited? If you're
So
not
no, no,
excited,
no,
that's
I'm very excited. Just want to think about it a little bit. Actually, one big thing I'd like to do, and I want to lean on the group for this is I want to go to either AOLP or ILI. I am personally leaning towards ILI. I hope I'm not making or hurting anybody's feelings. But yeah, I
quick,
really,
get
really.
controversial. AOLP or ILI.
Yeah, I'd love to
You
do
get it.
both. But yeah,
No, you have to pick one.
I would love to do both, but that's something I want to do. I feel like I've worked. I mean, we're at almost a decade in building lighting systems, and then going from building lighting systems to actually I feel like truly designing lighting systems, and I feel like we're at that point where it just makes sense to where we need to really take that design and that design understanding to another level.
Well, I can tell you this, and this isn't just because my face made it on one of their pop-up banners for trade shows, but I would go to ILI. They have a class this fall. I believe Greg Matthews is a mentor again this fall, and I went there a few years ago just as an attendee, and it was awesome. And I don't even have a lighting business anymore, but I immediately was like, okay, I should have gone to this years ago. It's pretty intense. It's 5 days. It's a few $1,000. It's nothing crazy, but some people are like, they don't like investing in anything. But it's more the investment of time, because you'll be gone basically a whole week, and you will not regret it. And if you don't go, you might not regret not going because you don't know what you're missing out on. But you definitely will not regret the things that you learn, the inspiration that you get, the way you speak, your language will change. Like it's highly, highly recommended. It's coming up this fall. I would for sure do it.
Yeah, man. And I want to piggyback off that a little bit and just, tell you how grateful I am for the, space that you've created, within the lighting industry. I think I would hope that, most people in our industry recognize, what you're bringing to the table, for us to be able to communicate, in a semi-private, chat in an area and to be able to get in these, different groups and like communicate and, really network having someone do that is just awesome, and I just want to personally thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. I don't know how to take compliments, but thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
I will say this. I mean, we're just getting started. We've done a lot of cool stuff and changed a lot of people's lives already, but we're going to unveil a few things next month at Secret Summit, which will be cool, and then even more at the beginning of the year. So
So
lots of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm excited.
Secret Summit and I think Palm Beach, West Palm. I guess Kenny Kaufman. Shout out, he's crushing it. He's actually in Charleston too. Really good
Oh yeah,
guy.
I know he's in
I've
Charleston and West Palm and a couple
Yeah,
others.
he's got it going on. I really enjoyed listening to some of the stuff he had in your program. That being said, I can't wait to talk to him about West Palm because that market for lighting. So if you take Charleston, we're a historic place, but then we have some of these golf course communities, some of which are very nestled into nature. So some of these communities we cannot. We need to keep very minimal light. Downtown Charleston, you need to keep minimal light. It needs to seem very old world. And then we get to other communities where, it's just blow it out off the top. And then you take places like West Palm and it's, triple that with color. I'm really excited. That's why I really do love going to that area. I think there's a lot to be said about studying there.
Cool. Yeah, I know. We had some areas in Dallas where I was like, what, why is this one area where all the money is like a dark sky community? Like, are you kidding me? These people, they don't care. They would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they can't. Like, they're a lot of like, oh, I would, but I can't. Whereas like these other areas, they're just like a small lot. Like it's very like they have money, but we can only fit 30 lights on this lot. It's not a
Yeah.
huge lot, So limitations.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, this was awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on. This has been really fun. If people want to get a hold of you, they want to connect with you, follow your work. What's the best way to stay in touch?
So Instagram, I would say was our number one. So Landscape Lighting CHS. That is Landscape Lighting CHS. And then also follow our landscapes we build. They're really awesome. And that is at the Tree Clinic. That's the Tree Clinic. Is that exactly how it sounds? And you can kind of follow some of the stuff we do.
Very cool. Well, this was fun, man. We'll definitely have to make it happen again. I think we hopefully offended some people with the quick hit controversials,
Love it.
divided the lighting industry and made some haters. So thanks for coming on, Paul.
One at a time. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
No, I really do. It's fun getting to know you and having you share your story and stuff like that. So I know we helped. My goal is just to help one person. So I know we helped someone today.
Love it, man. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, keep moving forward. Don't forget Secret Summit. If you're in Landscape Lighting Secrets, this is a must-attend event. We will kick you out of the program. All right, probably not, but just come there. All right, Secret Summit, West Palm Beach next month. Let's go.